Well, hi Acadiana, I'm Meteorologist Dave Baker. It is Thursday, June the 27th. Hopefully you're having a great day so far. Kind of hot and humid across Acadiana this morning, or this afternoon, but it does look like we're going to see some widely scattered showers and perhaps a few thunderstorms coming up as we head into the afternoon. Let's go ahead and get started here as we look at some of our our traffic cams here. You can see that we've got a mix of sun and clouds over most of Acadiana. Roadways are dry, at least here in Lafayette. We did have those rains right along the coast earlier this morning, and things have calmed down for right now, but there is still a few areas of rain and thunderstorm activity, mainly down toward Morgan City. A couple of pop-up showers starting to get going here over the Acadiana region, and some bigger thunderstorms back over Texas. I would say this general area right here is probably going to be our area that we're going to see the better chances for rain as we head into the afternoon, really more likely south of the I-10 corridor. So keep that in mind as you go through your day today. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and get started here when it comes to our water temperatures. We've got those warm water temperatures that are out there all across the region, and we're watching two tropical systems that have the potential for development, one a lot better chance than the other, and the tropical cyclone heat potential in these areas are quite warm as well. Even in the far eastern Atlantic, we've got some high heat potential, and again, this is where we've got a tropical system trying to develop, and then it wants to make its way off toward the west into the Caribbean, where there's even more heat potential, and that heat potential is the measure of 80-degree water going down below the surface. So the more warmer water below the surface, the higher the octane of the fuel is for a tropical system to work with. Some of the inhibiting factors, as you probably know, are the Saharan dust. There's quite a bit of it over here in the eastern Atlantic, some of it trying to make its way over the western part of the Atlantic, maybe into the Caribbean as well. But our two disturbances there and there are kind of staying away from some of the drier air, at least for right now. So that could be in these two disturbances' favor here over the next couple of days. A lot of wind shear still out there, especially where one of the tropical waves is approaching the Central American coast. The other one is way out here, just starting to come onto the map. Maybe a little bit of a lower wind shear environment, but just to the north of it, that wind shear value is quite high. So that's something that could possibly intimidate some tropical development. But as we move forward into the early part of next week, you'll notice that at least the GFS has a disturbance here, or maybe a tropical system making its way through the Leeward and Windward Islands, and also in a fairly low wind shear environment. So will this have a chance to become our next tropical system, named tropical system, over the next couple of days? I really think it does. The other one that's out over here, I don't think that it's going to have as much of a chance. So as we look at the tropical weather outlook, as we left you yesterday, we had these two areas. Both of them were on the low end for development, including 94L, which still only has about a 20% chance for development. And if it's going to get its act together, it's probably going to do it here in the Bay of Campeche. And again, the models aren't too excited about it. I'm not too excited about this either, so I'm just really going to not talk about this a whole lot in today's Let's Talk Tropics. So we're going to focus in here on 95L, which got the designation late last night, early this morning, I think. And the National Hurricane Center thinks that somewhere over the next 7 days, there's at least a 70% chance that we'll see tropical development. So if that's going to become the next named storm, it will be Beryl on the list there to your left. So let's look at the Eastern Atlantic satellite first of all. And again, you can see that tropical wave is fairly large here. It made its way off the African coast a couple of days ago. We started talking about this, I think, on Tuesday. But another thing that we're looking at here is this is not the time that we would normally start to see these larger tropical waves over the eastern part of the Atlantic. This is more of a look that you would see maybe this time July going into the early part of August, so maybe the last couple weeks of July or so. But as we look at the tropical Atlantic satellite, you can see here are the Windward Islands over here, and this is our 95L. So it's a fairly large complex of thunderstorms, and we actually think that this one's going to develop as it moves off toward the west, and we're going to go through some of the different model data as well. So stick with me. There's going to be a lot of information to go through, and I'm going to kind of explain the differences between some of the models, which are, like like to really develop tropical systems, other ones that are a little more turned off by trying to develop stuff, and which ones are a little more accurate and have been accurate in the past. So let's just go ahead and start with the specific hurricane models, and most of you are familiar with this. This is basically the spaghetti map, and a lot of times when we look at the spaghetti map, you got lines that are really just kind of going all over the place, but these particular models here are hurricane specific. So your global models such as the GFS and the Euro, they're concentrating on developing tropical systems here, and they can forecast these fairly well. But this set of models right here are just specific on hurricanes. So they're kind of hyper focused just on tropical weather. And you can see here that the track forecast is generally a west-northwesterly track, and almost every one of the models is in agreement. This isn't too surprising because this track forecast is actually pretty easy because there's a huge ridge of high pressure that's out over the Atlantic Ocean, and everything south of a ridge of high pressure area in the northern hemisphere would push everything off toward the west. So that's basically the thinking when it comes to the model track guidance. And one of the things that I've learned here over the last 3 decades of forecasting weather and concentrating a lot on tropical weather is the model path projections, or showing us where anything is going, is also just going to be moving in anything. So it looks like with that particular thing, it is going to move off toward the west, but the intensity models usually kind of vary a little bit more. We can get a track down pretty easily, but it looks like it was working fine as far as our intensity model. So these are the intensity models, and I'm looking down in the live chat. Hopefully everybody can hear. I did get a comment on this yesterday, and I really have cranked up some of the audio levels, so hopefully everybody can hear. All of my outgoing audio seems to be going out just fine, so hopefully everybody is able to hear. If not, let me know in the live chat there at the bottom. Here is the disturbance 95L intensity projections. So on the left-hand side, this is our wind speed, Cat 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 is up here behind that. And then down here on the bottom is the x-axis, that is the timeline, and it looks like it's been cut off here. So just to give you an idea, this is where day 4 is, day 5, day 6, day 7 on here. So when we're looking at the different hurricane models, by the time you get between day 4 and day 6, you can see almost all of the models are concentrating this system as at least a Category 1 hurricane. So it will continue to crunch the numbers and find out, but what a wide range. We've got this particular model that's pushing Cat 5. We've got this particular model down here that has it barely even a tropical depression. So hopefully we are going to be, we'll get those computer models a little bit more into an agreement. But like I've said, track models are relatively easy, but intensity models are pretty tough to get going. So here's a look at the GFS. So again, this is GFS, and on the GFS, it's called the ensemble. So it's virtually the same model and the same calculations. There's just slight adjustments to get different outcomes. So as you can see, the track model is okay. And pretty consistent for the first several days, but whenever you get out to day 5, day 6, day 7, and day 8, you get more of a spread on those models, just like you would have on a cone. You get more margin of error the farther out you go in the forecast. And all the lines are pretty much in agreement. You'll see some colors in here with the brighter reds. So maybe a couple of these models are going anywhere between 970 and 980 on some of the intensity or in some of the pressures. That would be a Category 1 hurricane, maybe Category 2, but most of them are keeping it somewhere between maybe 985 and 1,000. So you're talking about a tropical storm for the most part with a GFS model projection. So let's go in even deeper when it comes to the GFS model. So this is the forecast for Monday. So the next several models we're going to look at is just specifically for Monday midday. And the GFS, as you can see here, has a tropical system, a closed low pressure area, 972 millibars, and these are the leeward and windward islands right here. That's Trinidad right there. You've got Grenada, you've got St. Vincent and the Grenadines there. You got St. Lucia, Guadeloupe, Dominica, and Martinique is farther to the north. If I've gotten this wrong, forgive me. I have to go through my geography of the southeastern Caribbean about every 6 months. But you can see that there is a low pressure area at least trying to squeeze through, and maybe it already passed by Barbados there here on Monday. Euro model. So this one is virtually the same where it comes to the location, but you can see the intensity is considerably lower, only about 1004 on the pressure there. So I think we're looking at maybe something that would be a little bit weaker considering what the Euro model is talking about. HWRF, again, another hurricane-specific model, also has a fairly good low pressure area, maybe a little bit weaker than the GFS, but the difference on this one is here's Barbados, here's Trinidad, and here's St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So this is actually running considerably slower with it having it way out here still in the Atlantic Ocean. So you're going to get differences in timing and you're going to get differences in intensity, but just looking at the number of models, I think all of them are starting to pick up on something developing and most likely becoming our next named tropical system over the southeastern part of the Caribbean or the western part of the Atlantic Ocean. So let's real quick look at the what else is going on here. I just want to kind of go over 94L. Right now. Really, the trough is about right here. You've got some extra convection far to the east, and that's going to drive some fairly heavy rains over Jamaica, but it just doesn't look very impressive, and at the same time, it's getting pretty close to land as it moves off toward the west. This is the GFS ensemble again, and this is looking at different runs of the same model. Again, it doesn't seem too impressed with this. It's going to interact with land for a while, and it might have a chance maybe 3, 4, 5 days out here. That's the 72, 96, and 120. So that's day 3, 4, and 5, but it just doesn't look very impressive. And I really think this is just going to bring a lot of heavy rain to parts of Central America over the next couple of days. But it does almost look like something wants to try to develop on the western side of this, maybe get a low pressure area on the Pacific side, which would be interesting because on the Pacific side, hurricane season actually starts 2.5 weeks before the Atlantic side. And so far on the Pacific side, we have not seen any tropical activity whatsoever. Could that be because of La Nina? Because when La Nina kicks in, you get more hurricanes on the Atlantic side and fewer hurricanes on the Pacific side. So there's a possibility, even as we're going into a La Nina mode, we're still kind of in the neutral zone, but as we go into La Nina mode, this might be a sign that fewer hurricanes will occur on the Pacific with more hurricanes and tropical systems on the Atlantic, which is a big sign when it comes to a La Nina pattern. So more hurricanes for us, less hurricanes for the Pacific. So we've got a couple of systems out there that have potential. I really think the one that needs to be watched is going to be the one that's over the Atlantic right now and will be moving through the Caribbean Sea. Will that affect the Acadiana area? Still way too early to tell. GFS has something trying to work its way into the Gulf of Mexico about 10 days from now. So think to yourself, what is 10 days from now? July the 7th, I think. So what are you going to be doing on July the 7th? Should you be making a plan? So we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Gulf of Mexico, just a quick peek here. Not much going on there, and I don't think you're going to have any issues over the Gulf over the next couple of days. So getting back to what are you going to be doing right after the 4th of July and getting into the first couple of weeks of August there. These are the things that you can be doing right now. Gathering your batteries, flashlights, water, non-perishable food, putting together your first aid kit, making sure that you got your prescription medicine squared away, personal hygiene, house cleaners, and get all those important papers together. If you want to, you can put it into a watertight container, take it with you, especially if you're going to be evacuating. But you can also save these as digital by taking pictures on your phone. Toolkit is also a necessity, and whether you're staying at home or if you're going on the road, have plenty of entertainment for the kids, stuff that doesn't run on batteries or electricity. And many of you love your pets. Make sure you got a good carrier and you've got plenty of food, medicines, identifications, and everything with your pet supplies as well. So these are the things that you can be doing right now while we don't have any tropical systems that are out there at this point. So hopefully everybody's getting ready, and then when these tropical systems start to affect the Gulf of Mexico and threaten the Acadiana region, you'll have all your stuff together and you can kick back and just wait for it to come in and hunker down. Or if you've got an evacuation plan, you can put that into place. And as we get more into hurricane season and things do tend to threaten our area, I'm going to give you some ideas on what you can do maybe a week ahead of a tropical system coming in and then 3 days ahead of a tropical system coming in. So we'll get into those a little bit farther down the road. So again, just a real quick look at that tropical weather outlook. We've got 2 areas that we're watching, but the one that's over the Atlantic I think is going to be the biggest player when it comes to our tropical weather over the next week or 10 days or so. I'm meteorologist Dave Baker. I hope you enjoy Let's Talk Tropics, and looking at the comments there, I hope everybody was able to hear it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and also turn on those notifications. That way you know if we get any severe weather this afternoon, which is not expected, but if we do, sometimes we go into storm mode here on Acadiana Weather Today, and you would get an alert for that. And also you'll get an alert when we do our morning forecast between about 7:30 and 7:45 each weekday morning. It's called Acadiana Weather Today. If you go to my social media pages, you can find all of those links, and I would really love it if you would go and check out some of the other videos and subscribe to my channel. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you on Friday. Can't wait to kick off the weekend.